back. This is Complete Splits. Today we got a Top 8 Tuesday for you, and we're doing modern fantasy. So modern fantasy includes everything from, I think the oldest book that we have on this list is from 1999. So we'll go 1990s to present day, modern fantasy. I do have two honorable mentions. I have one honorable mention. I don't math. Um, and that is The Bone Ships by R.J. Barker. So this is awesome. It's dragon bone ships, naval combat goodness. So yeah, check this one out. It's fantastic. All right, so number 8 is Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. This book is hilarious. There was never a time where I laughed out loud more when reading a book, and it's fantastic. There's themes of like basically it's like a medieval world where your bands of mercenaries are treated as if they were uh, metal bands in the 80s. So they have groupies, they have all this stuff. I'll read you the back. Glory never gets old. Clay Cooper and his band were once the best of the best, the most feared and renowned crew of mercenaries this side of the Heart Wild. Their glory days long past, the mercs have grown apart and grown old, fat, drunk, or a combination of the three. And then an ex-bandmate turns up at Clay's door with a plea for help. This the kind of mission that only the very brave and the very stupid would sign up for. It's time to get the band back together. So, like I said, there's themes of like rock and roll towards these mercenary bands, and it's a rip roaring ride. It's hilarious. It's raunchy. It's good. It's good stuff. Um, and that's probably the most like the least serious book on this list. Um, the next one, I'm not sure if anybody's heard of this one, but it is The Thousand Deaths of Arbor Ben by Tyler Whiteside. Um, this one's fantastic. Just the magic system alone, their magic kind of it's a mix of like Mistborn with like the consuming of stuff, but basically they consume dragon shit to give them abilities, which is fantastic. I absolutely love that idea. I'll read you the back and see if this is something that you're into. Uh, Arter Ben is no ordinary thief, rakish, ambitious, and master of wildly complex heists. He styles himself as a ruse artist extraordinaire. When he gets hired for the most daring ruse yet, Arter knows he'll need more than quick wit and sleight of hand. Assembling a dream team of forgers, disguisers, schemers, and thieves, he sets out to steal from the most powerful king the realm has ever known. But it soon becomes clear that there's much more at stake than fame and glory. Ard and his team might just be the last hope for human civilization. That whole trilogy is awesome. I highly recommend it. It's definitely the first book is definitely like a medieval heist story, but it's fantastic. I'm telling you, the magic system alone will have you in there. Um, so try it out. All right, so this is number 6, and that is City of Last Chances by Adrian Tchaikovsky. So Adrian Tchaikovsky is like one of my favorite fantasy authors for sure. Modern fantasy authors. The guy can write fantasy like it's nobody's business. The Apt series, which unfortunately I don't think I have any books on there, um, on this list for that, but it's a fantastic series, and I think I picked this one because I just like this series better than the Apt series. I mean, the Apt series is good. It's like 10 books long, and it really does kind of um, it's really good. It is. It just didn't make my top, which shows you how much um, there's good fantasy out there. But it's like right there. I would say like The Empire of Black and Gold was probably maybe number 12, but So it would have been an honorable mention if I did top 10 list, but I don't because I'm a contrarian, so I got to do top eights. Um, so yeah, City of Last Chances. This is his first of this new series of fantasy, and like I said, I think it's better than the app series. So here's the blurb: There has always been a darkness to Ilmar, but never more than now. The city chafes under the heavy hand of the Palestine occupation, the chokehold of its criminal underworld, the boot of its factory owners, the weight of its wretched poor, and the burden of its ancient curse. What will be the spark that lights the conflagration? Despite the city's refugees, wanderers, murderers, madmen, fanatics, and thieves, the catalyst, as always, will be the anchor wood. The dark grove of trees, that primeval remnant, that portal, when the moon is full, to strange and distant shores. Ilmar, some say, is the worst place in the world, and the gateway to 1,000 worse places. Ilmar, city of shadows, city of long shadows, city of bad decisions, city of last chances. So yeah, this is the first book in the Tyrants and Philosophers series. There's like 4 books out right now. I did DNF book 3 just because it wasn't the right time for that one, but it does not shit on the series at all. The series is fantastic so far. So now we're on to book number 5. Book number 5 is by Joe Abercrombie, and it is Best Served Cold. So yeah, I mean the First Law series, both trilogies of the First Law are fantastic. However, this novel is the ultimate revenge story that I've ever read. Um, this is fantastic. This is like the Count of Monte Cristo meets modern fantasy, and then boom, you're good. In a Italian style um, fantasy, so it's phenomenal. Um, I'll read you the book. From one of fantasy's hottest new stars come a standalone novel of mercenaries, gruesome deaths, and twisted plans. There have been 19 There have been 19 years of blood. The ruthless Grand Duke Orso is locked in a vicious struggle with the squabbling League of Eight, and between them they have bled the land white. While armies march, heads roll, and cities burn, and behind the scenes, bankers, priests, and older, darker powers play a deadly game to choose who will be king. War may be hell, but for Manzo Mercado, the Snake of Talons, the most feared and famous mercenary in Duke Orso's employ, it's a damn good way of making money too. Her victories have made her popular, a shade too popular for her employer's taste. Betrayed, thrown down a mountain, and left for dead, Mercado's reward is a broken body and a burning hunger for vengeance. Whatever the cost, 7 men must die. Her allies include Styria's least reliable drunkard, Styria's most treacherous poisoner, a mass murderer obsessed with numbers, and a Northman who just wants to do the right thing. Her enemies number the better half of a nation, and that's all before the most dangerous man in the world is dispatched to hunt her down and finish the job Duke Orso started. Springtime in Styria, and that means revenge. Yeah, this is one of the greatest novels that ties to the First Law trilogy or to the First Law universe in my opinion. Um, it's fantastic. It sets up a lot of the stuff that we see in the second trilogy. But yeah, it's fantastic. So definitely check that one out because I mean it's fucking awesome. The next one I don't have the dust jacket for, but it's In the Shadow of Lightning by Brian McClellan. This is his most recent book. It's in a new world. It's not in the Powder Mage series. And it is absolutely phenomenal. The magic system in this is, I would say, on par with what he came up with in the Powder Mage series with its breadth and scope. The same with just the book alone, the breadth and scope of his world that he's done here is a step up from Powder Mage in the political scheming and machination sense. Um, but yeah, this one's fantastic. I don't have the blurb here, but actually I could probably look it up. So give me 1 second. All right, let's see what we got here. Demir Grappo is an outcast. He fled a life of wealth and power, abandoning his responsibilities as a general, a governor, and a son. Now he will live out his days as a grifter, rootless and alone. But when his mother is brutally murdered, Demir must return from exile to claim his seat at head of the family and uncover the truth that got her to the very power that keeps civilization turning. Godglass is running out. Now, Demir must find allies, old friends, and rivals alike, confront the powerful guild families who are only interested in making the most of the scraps left at the table, and uncover the invisible hand that threatens the Empire. A war is coming, a war unlike any other, and Demir and his ragtag group of outcasts are the only thing that stands in the way of the end of life as the end of life as the world who knows it. Yeah. So this book is fantastic. It's phenomenal. It's great. It's awesome. Brian McClellan is one of my top fantasy authors at this point. I think there's one that sits next to him, um, which we'll see in a second. But yeah, Brian McClellan is phenomenal. Um, I would argue he's uh, since he was trained by Brandon Sanderson to world build and magic system, and he was one of Brandon Sanderson's students. Um, just a phenomenal artist. The depth and imagination that goes into the world building of the books that he writes is just phenomenal. Um, the guy, he can't do wrong by me, and I haven't read anything that was less than stellar. So, as we may see further. Um, the next one is one of my um favorite books of all time, or favorite fantasy books of all time, obviously, because we're doing a top 8 list of fantasy. But this artist is just amazing with the stories he weaves. I'm on book 8 of his series right now, and that series is uh Malazan Book of the Fallen, and we're showcasing Steven Erickson's book Gardens of the Moon. This book, I read this so long ago, and I was totally enraptured by this world. The Warrens, the magic system, the characters, the the gods, and all of it. I was just so in on this. So here we'll have the blurb if you haven't been introduced to the Malazan Book of the Fallen series yet, because this will definitely get you in on it. The Empire simmers with disconnect with the Malazan Empire simmers with discontent, bled dry by interminable warfare, bitter infighting, and bloody confrontations with ancient and implacable sorcerers. Even the Imperial legions, long inured to the bloodshed, yearn for some respite. Yet Empress Lycene's rule remains absolute, enforced by her dreaded claw assassins. For Sergeant Whiskey Jack and his squad of bridge burners, and for Tattersail, their lone surviving mage, the aftermath of the Siege of Pale should have been a time to mourn the many dead. But Darujhistan, last of the free cities, yet holds out. It is to this ancient citadel that Lysine turns her predatory gaze. However, the Empire is not alone in this great game. Sinister shadowbound forces are gathering as the gods themselves prepare to play their hand. Conceived and written on a panoramic scale, Gardens of the Moon is epic fantasy of the highest order, an enthralling adventure by an outstanding voice. Yeah, I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. The Malazan Book of the Fallen series has been one of the best series I've read in fantasy. Like I said, I'm on um here soon, and then move on to Dreams of Dust, and then the final one, The Crippled God. But I am so excited to finish the series and then start on the spin-off series that I've read a couple of so far, but rereading everything and just go through it again. But yeah, Gardens of the Moon, the Malazan Book of the Fallen in general is just fantastic. Number two, Sins of Empire by Brian McClellan. As I said, he's gonna have quite a bit on here. Um, so there's not much of a blurb here, but we shall see. The young nation of Fatrasta is a destination for criminals, rebels, settlers, and sorcerers seeking relics of the past. But the balance of power is shifting as insurrection threatens to overthrow the iron grip of the Lady Chancellor and her secret police. As loyalties are tested and a dangerous artifact is discovered, the people of Fatrasta will soon learn that rebellion is the least of their worries. Yeah, so this is book one in the Gods of Blood and Powder series, which is included in the Powder Mage universe. This is the second trilogy in that universe, and it is phenomenal. Definitely read the first trilogy before you go into this book, though, because um, it will definitely spoil shit from the first trilogy. But yeah, this is my second favorite fantasy book of all time, and my number one, which I won't be reading the back of because it is book three in the original Powder Mage trilogy, and that is The Autumn Republic by Brian McClellan. Um, the Powder Mage series is one of the best fantasy series I've ever read. Modern fantasy or classic fantasy, I don't give a shit. This series is phenomenal. It breaks all the molds. There's no medieval civilization fantasy going on here. This is if you drop the American Revolution technology or Napoleonic War technology, muskets, cannons, all that shit, and you put it in with magic and sorcery. This series is the clash between like technology and magic. One of the best arguments that I've seen in a fantasy book, just in general. Like that theme alone of magic versus technology, which is can translate into like, all right, religion versus technology kind of thing. So like you could see um the kind of contrast there. So like that level of theming alone is like something that Brian McClellan pulls out so well. And then just the military aspects, the way that the battles are handled, the it's just phenomenal. Honestly, one of the best quotes was on book one, and book one, the quote is, "The age of kings is dead, and I have killed it." This has some of the best characters I've seen ever. And yeah, it's just a phenomenal book series. So read Powder Mage and then read Sins of Empire and start that trilogy. And then see where it takes you. It might take you to In the Shadow of Lightning, which I don't mind. You could read that one first, honestly, because that's in a different world. But I mean, I highly recommend the Powder Mage trilogy first, and then go into Gods of Blood and Powder, and then go to Shadow of Lightning, because you'll see the progression of how far Brian McClellan's come from this first trilogy, which is just phenomenal in and of itself, and he's only getting better. So there it is, my top eight fantasy books, modern fantasy books. We'll do classic fantasy at some point. I was trying to put that list together. Actually, I was trying to put this list together, and I still had like a shit ton of options, and I was like, all right, we need to narrow this, narrow the scope here. It's too broad with just fantasy alone. So we did modern fantasy this time, which was anything from like 1999 to modern day, and then we'll do a classic fantasy, and then we'll do some subgenre stuff too, because there's some shit that just doesn't fit in classic or modern really well. So I figured maybe we'll do some genre specific stuff like high fantasy, low fantasy, sword and sorcery, like that kind of thing. Um, but in other words, I have started reading, or in other news, I've started reading The Exorcist by William P. Blatty, and we'll be continuing with that on for the first book of the month of June. I did end up finishing Reliquary, book 2 in the Pendergast series for the end of May, and we will have the monthly reading uh, recap, basically, coming out probably Wednesday. But the review for Reliquary and stuff should have already been posted, so you should see that. Um, so yes, thank you for joining me for another Top 8 Tuesday. And as always, read, because reading is fundamental.